Good evening, good evening, good evening. Woo, we're back. We're back. Man, season 4, episode 1. Man, I promise you guys, man, it seems like it has been a really long time since season 3, episode 12 ended. But man, we finally got back here. And hey, I'm just always happy, man, when you can be in a position to give love. You know, the greatest gift that we have, yeah, it's called love. So hey, I'm gonna bring everybody in, man. Hope everyone enjoying the Super Bowl. Sunday night, prime time, life off the bench. Welcome! Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey, how are you? Happy Sunday.
Yeah, yeah, Super Bowl 57 Sunday, as well as season 4, episode 1 premiere in prime time.
Yeah, this is how we do it.
This is how we do it.
Hey, na na na
Yeah,
na na na.
yeah.
Hey, did
Hey,
you?
hey,
I
so
think we will come
we're
back
gonna
and
do this
live in
first,
living
y'all. Let's
color.
do this first. So, all my life, I've been a Tar Heel. So we decided last year, I think it was during show 1, episode 1 of last season, that we would all do our favorite, uh, the colors for our favorite colleges. And since I'm a Tar Heel, yeah,
No,
yeah,
no,
y'all
no,
like that,
no,
right?
no. Bulldogs in the house.
Yeah,
Bulldogs in the house.
yeah, you see it,
Bulldogs
you
in the
see it.
house.
Come on,
I
come
ain't
on.
even got to do all that because you already know we repping the L to the A. LSU go who? Tigers.
Man, man.
LS who? LSU.
Bulldogs.
Hey, y'all know them Tar Heels, man. They
Wait
speak
till
for
this
themselves.
real bulldog get on here. He got a little more bass. Bass. I'ma hold it down. Even the nails repping.
Yeah,
Hey.
yeah, I see you, red and black, red and black.
Hey, I bleed red and black. Hey, I bleed red and black.
Hey, so this season 4, is primarily dedicated to systems, broken systems. And when we think about the process of what broken systems mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. Things that were created to do a certain specific task, but has not fully met the criteria. And watch this now. We fully know, understand, and are aware that in order for a system to work, it has to be used in the manner in which it was created to be used. Did y'all get that?
Understood.
The system has to be used in the manner in which it was created to be used. If not, it fails off the top. Tonight, whoo, boy, 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 I know I'm probably gonna catch some grief behind the topic for tonight because it's probably something that's not supposed to be talked about. But when I was creating the topic, two things came to mind, two analogies. One was a sports analogy because I'm a sports guy, and that was everybody can't win. That's been the rule since forever. And you're right. If the pre isn't done, everyone can't win. Everyone can't win if the pre isn't done. But If you do the work, the results will happen. That's a proven fact in athletics that if you do the work, the results shall happen. Now, the other one was a biblical adaptation. And I know there are a lot of people that are way smarter than me about the Bible and about the teachings of the Bible. But this one came to my mind wholeheartedly. And that was, I think it's Matthew 15 and Luke 18, where it talks about the parable where the shepherd lost one sheep, but he had 99. And they said, well, if you got 99 right here, why are you worried about one? Because it's always the one that completes us. It's always the one that completes us. And completion should be what we're looking for when we talk about the broken educational system that's trending. So before we get into broken systems, the educational system, uh, please welcome my esteemed co-host. She's back. She's back.
Hey,
She's back. Anise Collier, and
yeah.
she's replacing Adams. I mean, taking it out, discarded it.
No, I'm not taking it out. I just didn't type
I'm
all
used
of
to
it in
seeing it
there.
on the screen.
Oh well, I can change that. I can change it. Can I change that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was shortening it so that way it wouldn't take over the whole screen. That's
Oh
all.
no, we want you to have your will.
Oh well, yeah, you need to take all the initials there, but no.
Just put 3 of the suffixes that you have on there for me, please.
Oh
Can you
my
do that for me?
goodness. Oh,
I like that. I like the
we'll do it
brag.
at commercial break. We'll do it at commercial
Yeah,
break.
look, I like to brag about the fact that we have really educated people, but people that are also that came from the bottom, that started from scratch and worked their way up to
Well,
be degreed men and women.
you know what? I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that, and I humbly accept that. I'll talk about them just a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, it's more relevant as to whether or not you have the wisdom to know what to do with the knowledge that you've attained,
Right.
and whether or not it speaks to me in my life, and do you have anything that I can walk away from the table with and I can use every day? Can I apply this in my life?
Right.
And does it make a difference in the next moment that I have and the next breath that I take to where I can have hope? And so in the state of Illinois, I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor. I'm a nationally certified counselor and a clinical certified mental health counselor. And so there's that. So, yeah, there you go.
Also back with us is my second favorite girl in the whole wide world. Um, Same mama, same daddy. I don't know how you get so far apart having the same mama and same daddy. Uh, she's been my hero, my friend, my spiritual advisor. She's been a place of comfort and peace for me. Please welcome my second favorite girl in the whole wide world, Grayson Girl. She's our matriarch of our family, and she's so abundantly loved. Hello, Girl One.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back, Off the Bench family. Pleasure to be here this season with you guys. Looking forward to having an awesome season, talking about these broken systems and putting some things into place that we can help mend the broken pieces We got something better than Humpty Dumpty to help put them back together again.
Amen.
Call the call, baby. Hey, nah, seriously though, man. I'm telling you, I'm really elated to be back. Uh, I said this in a Facebook post, um, maybe a couple of weeks ago. I don't know what it was about 2023 when the new year rolled in, but I've had just a special peace that has rolled through my heart and through my spirit, and I'm grateful about it because peace is where your heart gets to feel more love. Peace is where your mind gets to absolutely rest at night. Peace is where you can give more love because you're not stressed out, you're not mad, you're not angry at the world for no reason because sometimes the world hasn't done you a thing. So for me, I'm telling you, man, I'm really glad to be back with season 4. And I'm gonna give y'all this before we get started. Some of our panelists are watching the Super Bowl. If they stroll in and stroll out, just roll with it. Just roll with it. We'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back in full force next week after the Super Bowl. But let's start. Can we get started, you guys? Or y'all got something?
Absolutely.
I got something y'all want to say. So, Anise, take this first one. I'm gonna put on the screen. Um, if you can check that out and read it for us.
The high school graduation rate is lowest among American Indian, Alaska Native, and Black students. Asian Pacific Islander students have the highest rate, followed by white and Hispanic students. Minnesota has the largest high school graduation racial gap, followed by South Dakota, Wyoming. Wow.
All right. I forgot to do something. Let me do this real quick. We're claiming fair use, fair rights to use content and video from other sites. Hey, how y'all like our new fair right little logo, man? We got rid of the old one.
Disclaimer. We got rid of that.
We got rid of the disclaimer. And we got our own, man. I think that's pretty cool, man. Our tech guy, man, he's the best. He's the very best. It works for me anyway. Um, so, man, let's start there. And let me get it. Let me get it on my phone because I need to be able to read this back. Who is affected by failing educational systems?
Yes. You have to take a
Man,
deep breath.
yeah, I needed to. And by this statistics, and man, I forgot to write that link down so I can give them their credit. But you know, God knows, I'm definitely not trying to plagiarize anyone. But from the
He'll be in trouble.
right, yeah, I'm definitely not trying to do that. Um, it says the graduation rate is the lowest among American Indian, Alaskan Native, Black, and Black students. Asian Pacific Islander students have the highest rate, followed by white and Hispanic students. Let's start right there. Like, that's a great place to start. And take this part for me, Anise, and that is, why is the graduation rate the lowest among American Indian, Alaska Native, um, Alaskans, and Black students.
So that's my deep breath. My deep breath is you have to look at the system. So when you look at the system, you have to define the system in which um, it operates. Are we looking at the administrative system? Because it's definitely not the teachers. The teachers are qualified in those spaces, in those places. And I dare not say anything derogatory about the teachers that are located in and operating and providing instruction for those Black and brown bodies. Because I believe that our teachers are part of it, but I believe that the systems, and administratively so, in the hoops and the bars, I's have to dot, and T's they have to cross, are flawed. I hear uh, uh, what do you want to call it? Um,
Background noise.
Background. So is that me?
I don't know.
Okay. So I believe that those systems are flawed, and I believe that they are given every time that they reach an accomplishment that the bar is moved and the bar is moved and the bar is moved and the bar is moved, to whereas they are continuously chasing a bar that's forever floating, and the benchmarks and the things that they're given, equipment, materials, um, assistance, the number of students that they're given in classrooms, um, the resources, the hiring, the personnel that's in those classrooms, that the odds are stacked against them. That might be why.
Great, great.
Then you got to look at the economic, you got to look at some of the medical, you got to look at some of the disadvantaged neighborhoods, communities. You got to look at a lot of the resources. You got to look at the parents. You got to look at the fact that they may not be able to assist their children. You may have to look at technology. You may have to look at a lot of things. There are so many extenuating factors that contribute to that.
Renee, when we grew up, I think it was around 1983 when the first computer, desktop computer came out. Uh, I remember Mama Anna asking me if I wanted a computer or an Atari 2600, and y'all know what I chose. I ain't chose no doggone computer. But today's educational system has pretty much all but maybe for some schools that are still using regular textbooks, but have gone to what they're now calling Chromebooks uh, to teach students with. What's the big difference in between the learning between us back in the 70s, 80s, uh, and using the textbook, and now uh, being able to have access to a million different thoughts and questions um, at your fingertips?
That's for me, right?
Yes.
You ain't got to work as hard to learn now because you can walk around with it at your fingertips. We had to truly learn. I remember growing up, I was forever studying something, and I didn't have access to this or a tablet or a laptop that I could just carry around with me. We had to go to the library just to be able to write our papers and look up resources. If you weren't fortunate enough to own a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas, some of y'all
Right.
won't remember them, um, in your own home. Now, our children have access to a variety of things where they can Google, Siri, Alexa, just ask a question and get an answer. Um, even now when they're doing mathematical equations, they have different calculators online that they can go in and input the information, and the calculator gives them the answers. We had to learn how to solve equations and check to make sure the answers is correct. So you talk about broken systems. Have we kind of taken some of the necessary tools away that's needed to be able to make conscious decisions with this new generation? Because this is what I call the microwave society. Um, they want to pop it in the microwave and in 30 seconds it's ready.
Right. I agree. I
So
agree.
we lack in the area of discipline is what I'm calling it, because we had to be disciplined. We couldn't make excuse. Let me talk for me. I couldn't make excuses, and I had a lot I could have made to my mom as to why that report card was not correct. It wasn't in order. Uh, I could have used the fact that, Ma, you know I'm a teen parent, but I probably would have got slapped with, didn't nobody tell you to have no baby?
Right.
Uh, Ma, you know I play basketball. Well, that is a privilege, not a requirement. You know, now everything that it's a given. I got to do this. No, you don't have to do that. You're allowed to do that. And if you have a gift to be able to do it and do it well, then you should want to strive to do something else even better, because the gifts come naturally.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't even got to work hard for things that are gifted to you, because it's already given to you.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's time for us to work towards something that hasn't been given to us and become astronomically good at that,
Fact.
even greater.
Facts. I agree. Uh, I'm sorry, y'all. I got somebody down here at the bottom. Oh, there you go.
Oh,
That's the real G man. That's the real G man.
Amen.
Uh,
Amen.
amen. So when
Tori.
You see Alfred's tag, Roots Mentoring Inc. I
yeah,
Yeah,
like that.
I like
Mentete.
I
Look
got to
at
correct
his
that, huh?
typing.
Yeah, I got to get that.
His,
Now his wife ain't have to call him out like that. She
his
ain't had to do that.
secretary.
I was
His
trying to get on.
secretary was
Well,
a
I was
Santana,
trying
why
to.
you ain't go in there
I
and
was
type that
already.
in for him?
so.
I was
Let
already
let.
late, so I was trying to get in a hurry.
Nah, we're glad you're here, man. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna read the next one, and then we're gonna hope that Alfred is listening and can give us his thoughts on this next situational situation.
He got his earbud in, so I think he here.
Why does this matter? Education is a social detriment of health, and educational attainment is a strong predictor of future health outcomes. Higher educational attainment is associated with better jobs, higher earnings, increased health knowledge, better self-reported health, and fewer chronic conditions. Individuals with lower educational attainment are at a greater risk of adverse health outcomes such as obesity, cardiovascular disease, lung disease, mental health problems, and premature death. Students who drop out of high school are more likely to experience incarceration. Significant disparities persist in high school graduation by race and ethnical in the
Ethnicity.
United States. Um,
Amen.
man, that was a lot. That was a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. That's
Alfred,
a lot of ground to cover.
Alfred, talk about social detriment of health, uh, lack of attainment being a strong predictor of future health outcomes, and the top half of it, and we'll try to get a niece to catch the bottom half of it. Can we do that?
Okay. Yes. Okay. To this, I start off with the social, and the significance of the social is if you do not know how to communicate or to present yourself or to defend what it is you're trying to get across, then there comes the confusion. That leads to the ability or the inopportunities to the masses because they don't understand what it is you're trying to say or do. And when you don't realize that the social aspect that you come from may be different than the social background that others are used to or come from, then you can't understand how to get your point across, and that causes frustration and aggravation. A lot of times, good ideas die because we're unable to socially get that across, what it is that we're trying to get across. A lot of time youth are left behind because socially they're not understood because of the social activities that they're in or living in the areas that they're living in is different from others. They're not used to or understanding what it is or how to explain themselves or their actions in certain social settings. So when you're introducing a person to, like, let's say the legal system, let's say a kid goes to a person goes to the court for a first time, they don't understand the process, they don't understand what's going on, and they really don't understand what they say is detrimental. Everything they're saying is being written, and how the legal system define these words that you're using is totally different from what you think is acceptable in the area that you come from. So that's the social piece of it. I just think that we have to education is about learning, it's about knowing, even if you are against what someone is telling you or teaching you. Education is about knowing that exists out there, that there are people who think this way. There are other definitions for your words and your actions that you're taking. It is seen differently in other places, right? In other neighborhoods or other areas of the world or in the nation itself. So you have to understand that other ideas exist. What was the other part of that first part?
Give me 1 second, bro.
I like using there was a reference I used in class one time at Governor State. And I was referencing the difference between down south and up here, right? And we were sitting in a circle and we was doing restorative justice training, and I brought up an example to the circle that down south, up here, if you were in the park and you were sitting on the stool and you were feeding the squirrels and the rabbits and the birds, right? I said that was socially up here. That's seen, that's natural. That's okay. That's good. That's something that everybody does. Now I said down south, I said, now if you get a southern like me, I come up, I see that squirrel totally different from what you see him and that rabbit. That look like a meal to me. I told him, I said, now how would y'all feel if you was in the park feeding this squirrel or this rabbit, and or somebody from the south comes up and shoots and kill it and start cleaning it right there where you're at? And they was all like, "Oh man," they didn't think about it that way, because they never thought about it that way. They never had that experience.
Right.
So when you're thinking about social issues, our social norms are different. North, South, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian. We have a lot of different social things that we can learn from each social platform. That we could be more socially um, agreeable, I think.
Right.
What was the other half of that?
Higher educational attainment is associated with better jobs, higher earnings, increased health knowledge,
okay.
better self-reported health.
Amen. Yeah. As far as being educated in general, I think that you should learn something new every day. You should try to learn something new every day. A word, or a history lesson, or something from another person, or some experience through your day. You should take something from your day that moves you forward mentally, intelligently. Uh, just learning from other people's mistakes. I mean, just listening and watching. Um, uh, I think that is basically for every aspect of our lives. Learning to and learning about health, your community health can be great. Can be a great assistance if you can gain control or learn to eat better, learn to exercise, learn to communicate that with the people in your circle, you know, uh, and make it socially acceptable. A lot of times that I know my age, we grow up with a lot of things, and where I come from, that we just socially and knowledge-wise that we eat without a thought about it. We eat a lot of we eat pork like it ain't nothing. We eat sweets like it ain't nothing. We put a lot of sugar in everything. So just learning and becoming better about what it is, why we have so many medical issues when we get older, and why we have to deal with all these different problems medically. Uh, I think would be one of those things about educating ourselves and being better people, and having to that's a lineage that we could straighten out, get our youth and the people that are coming behind us on the right track. We did those things out of necessity. Our great grandparents, they did it out of necessity. Our parents had to eat certain foods out of necessity. So now that we don't have to, we can learn now that we can eat better and exercise, and it's okay. We just have to convince our society that it's okay to be healthy. It sounds strange to have to say that, but it's just like being educated. When you're a youth, when you're a kid in school, you're afraid to let the other kids know that you're smart, because you think you're gonna get picked on. And we have to continue to tell them that it's okay to be smart. It's okay to be smart. It seems like it's a weird idea, but socially, and it's been accepted. I mean, to pick on the nerd or whatever. Now we know better that it's okay to be smart. It's okay to move forward.
All right, Sissy Pooh, co-host.
Yeah.
Talk about the mental health divide between lower educational students versus kids that achieve high academic success, please.
Well, there's a both and. We're finding in lower educational success, you um, we are finding that there is some trauma that may be attached with that child's or that student's home life. There may be some, and I've spoken earlier, there are some areas that may have to do with some disadvantages that they may be experiences or underadvantages or underprivileged areas that they may have had to deal with in terms of learning and achieving what it is that they may have been faced with or having to face. Whereas those students that are more successful may be um, able to articulate what it is that they're facing. So, for instance, if I'm feeling overly anxious or I'm feeling sad and blue or depressed, I'm able to articulate that in a way that I may be able to get assistance for that. Or I'm feeling overwhelmed, I may be able to share what it is that I'm facing. Whereas um, we're finding that there still may not be at the same adversities or the same issues, situations, or circumstances that the students face being success or educational success or lack thereof, if that makes sense. Ask me a pointed question, or did that helps me a little bit more.
Well, again, so it wasn't
Feeling like I
about.
talked myself in a rabbit hole.
No, you're good. You're good because again, you gave us the advantages and disadvantages of the mental health structure of what happens to kids who achieve high academic success versus children who don't. And again, like you said, it's always an underlying issue that causes children not to want to give their very best effort in being successful in the academic field of battle. So I think you
Yeah.
did.
Okay, because I was thinking of something very prominent in my mind, and some of the students that may be underachievers have absolutely nothing to do with their ability to learn, but it have more to do with what's available in terms of resources outside of the educational system. um Again, like I said, I think some of our teachers are some of the best in the world, but I think also the opportunity may be afforded them at home. If I'm more where it is I'm going to sleep, what it is I'm going to wear, what it is my parents are experiencing, if there's domestic violence, if I'm worried about being abused, used, or have experienced sexual trauma, then my first priority may not be school, or I may be viewing school as a safe haven
Right.
rather than learning what it is I need to learn. So there are so many different things there. And when we talked about how you define systems, my mind went completely different place in space.
Right. Let's do
Sorry
this
about
one
that.
little thing again, real quick. Bam. Let's do that right there, real quick. Um, the and so watch this right here. This may seem like we're going in reverse, but we're actually not. Okay, just trust me on that. Um, man, when we think about hard times, when we think about hard times, this is when times were really hard when we weren't able to freely go to school and get an education and had people that were not only willing but qualified. I'm gonna say that again. There was a time in history that not only did we have people that didn't want to teach us, but we didn't have our own people that were qualified, them were qualified to teach us. And so when I look at this graphic that I just put back up on the screen, and I'm gonna read that again. I know y'all probably don't like my voice, but it's my voice. And so it says, aware of the crucial economic role education can play for the descendants of slaves, Julius Rosenwald, a Chicago philanthropist and Sears Roebuck president, along with Booker T. Washington, the principal of Tuskegee Institute, worked with Black communities across the South to build more than 5,000 schools for Black children. Brad, talk to us a little bit about what that means in regards to today. We have more than 20, 30,000 schools across the United States, and the population is only getting bigger. Talk to us a little bit about how much more ahead and advanced that we should be. And I didn't say we ought to be, but we should be in today's society, as per where we have the quality of teachers needed with great educational backgrounds helping our children.
So, great question, and I want to step back with that graphic. That graphic is the Rosenwald schools. So, in the South after the Civil War, Booker T. Washington was a champion for education for children in the rural South. And so Julius Rosenwald, who was probably one of the most innovative businessmen of the, he could be right up there with the Carnegies and the Rockefellers, but I think was probably one of the most gracious philanthropists, because he, and it's just my opinion, the Rockefellers and the Carnegies wanted to build monuments, whereas Mr. Rosenwald wanted to build legacies. So he invested in education along with Booker T. Washington for the children of the rural South. And in that, they planted schools, over 5,000 schools, in 15 states in the South, to educate children in the rural South. And these schools were not only just for, and the fund was called the Rosenwald Fund. It's where the communities partnered with Sears and Roebuck and the Tuskegee Institute to what is now Tuskegee University, to plant schools throughout the South. But it was just more than just schools. It galvanized communities, because one, the communities invested in, and those buildings weren't just schools. They were community meeting houses. They were cultural centers, and it was just it brought about pride to that and elevation to those communities. Their children were able to graduate from 12th grade, which most kids during that time only went to probably, second, maybe third grade, if it was provided in that area. And also gave way for them to go to schools, to college. Maya Angelou was a product of the Rosenwald schools. John Lewis was a product of the Rosenwald schools, and many, 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 many more. So so segue into the question, said, knowing where we came from in these things in that era, moving into today, where the opportunities are a little bit more readily available. Not that it's easy for some to get to them, but they're there. And I think when you're talking about another thing, the quality of teaching. So many of the teachers that taught at those Rosenwald schools came from a group called the Jeans teachers, and the Jeans teachers were teachers who studied at those HBCUs like Grambling State, like Jackson State, like Tuskegee, and their assignment was to go to those rural areas to educate the children of the South. And that too was a great inspiration and a great pride for the recipients of this, and it also motivated them to want to go to schools like your Gramblings, your Southerns, and all of the HBCUs in the South. So, like I said, now we have the opportunity and we have the training. One of the things that I know about most HBCUs is they not only delve into the theory of educating our children, but they also into the practical things as well, which I think is equally important because it knocks down some of those barriers that we were talking about earlier with what happens whenever you have a situation where you have a student who's not getting sleep because of some type of issue at home. What do you do whenever you have a situation where a kid is dealing with domestic violence at home? What do you do? So I think the schools, the teachers being trained there, the schools that do a really great job of bringing those things to the forefront are the teachers who do really, really well in educating our kids, because they can relate and then they can help kids tackle all of these social barriers that may be stopping them from achieving to their highest potential and their highest level. So I think, and if there's university that's not doing that, I implore them to get there, to take a step back and say, hey, look, what is the problems in our education system? What's the biggest barriers in our education system? Like, what are these kids really dealing with that's stopping them from being the best that they can be, or achieving the most that they can achieve, or reaching their fullest potential? And then we need to figure out, how can we address these issues? And guess what? Just like going back to those communities with the Rosenwald schools, it's going to take, it's not just on the teachers, but it's the community it has to be invested. It has to be the businessmen that has to be invested. It has to be everybody, everybody. It has to be all encompassing in order for us to propel students in the right direction.
All right, thanks, man. Let's go back. I'm gonna put that back on the screen again, because it's another part that I'd like for us to address, and that is community involvement. I've always known a lot of teachers who are in the educational system, and I've met a whole lot more that absolutely love what they do. They're invested in their educational careers, so much so that some of them have gone on from the coaching platform to the administrative side of education, because they felt that they could make a deeper impact from the administration side of the game called education. Grayson Girl 1, it's been said, and how that when parents are more involved in their kids' educational careers, and they had set a standard that they can be better in the classroom, that they can um, see more results from that process. What are your thoughts on that?
Oops, forgot I was on mute. I think as parents, we have an obligation to be involved in our children's education. You know, I've grew up in the realm where being in sports was popular, and I've seen a lot of parents, they're more excited about their child potentially becoming an NFL star than his educational goals. Well, ask Mike Tyson, if you can't count your money or you can't read a contract, what happens to you? You go broke before you even get there good. Ask some of the other ones that have made it big, but they weren't able to understand the simple line or language in a contract, and they didn't have nobody else there that could do it for them. So as parents, we're obligated to be a part of our children's educational process. So if sports fails, what's next? If being the next big singer fails, what's next? If being the next big rapper fails, what's next? What's your plan B? And so it's our job as a parent to help them fulfill those roles in the educational process, to teach them. It starts at home. Yes, we got some wonderful educators. I know some of them personally firsthand, in our educational field. Some people that have dedicated time outside of their learning experiences to be the best educators that they can be. But learning first starts at home. Before my children ever made it to kindergarten, they knew ABC 1, 2, 3, because part of my requirements were, if you can sing that, then surely you can say this. And so before they got to the classroom, they already had school at home. I also invested in that educational process. I talked about that Encyclopedia Britannica earlier. My oldest was the first partaker, and they got passed it down from child to child like it was an heirloom, like it was worth $1 million, before we ever even got our first computer in the household. They got Encyclopedia Britannicas. They got Dr. Seuss books. You remember the club where you could buy the books for 1 cent, you get 10 books, and then you'd be spending $29.99 for the rest of your life on some books. They was partakers of those, because if you can't read, if you can't write, my granddad used to say the basic fundamentals. He had a 3rd grade education, but man, could he count. And I was still trying to figure out today how he did that so well with a limited education. You talk about the Rosenwald schools. I think they have another, it's a school in Mississippi, and I can't think of the name of it right now. That's I think it's an all Black boys school that were in effect now, that they had back then places and institutions in position to be able to teach and educate our children specifically. And I heard somebody say they don't even teach Black history in school now. Well, teach it at home. Are you Black? Let's teach it at home. We got to start at home. If it's to be, it has to begin with me. And that starts at home. That starts with me teaching the basics. And the slaves, they snuck to learn how to read because they couldn't read. If one of them knew how to read, everybody was gonna know something. We don't want to teach anybody anything because you might get ahead of me. You might know a little more than me. I'm not threatened because the niece already has her PhD. I'm not threatened because Alfred I think he has his master's. I'm not threatened because Chad has his master's.
I guess I need a master.
You know a lot more than we know. You done taught the niece how to run this little background thing, but if you try to teach me, I'm gonna be sitting there like needle in a haystack. Like you said, what? I can't do that. Let
Man,
me
I need
talk.
to get me playing, but I need to get me a master's degree, man. I feel out of place right now. Man, all you smart people, man, and I'm sitting here with just
But the boost would be that all of us will tell you if we did it, guess what? You can do it.
Right.
All you have to do is want to.
And I don't have my master's degree.
See?
We
See how much
can
I
we
know. I
discuss?
thought he had. Look, see how much I know. I thought he had a master's degree. He act like he got a master's degree, but
And
that's
I'm not quite finished yet, but I'm on my way there. Hey,
What?
well, okay. I'm just speaking things into existence. Then
there you go. There you
Amen.
go. How
So
long? Not long.
so can we talk about some of the adversities, some of the reasons why we having so many problems with youth
Can,
wanting to be educated this year
can,
nowadays?
can we get to the Q&A part of that before we discuss that? We have I think 2 more segments before we get to that part. And look, because I know you guys want to get back to watching the Super Bowl, and you guys know I've never tried to limit your thoughts, energy, and emotion because that's not who I am. I'm not a stifler, and so I don't want you guys to think that I'm rushing you guys, but I do want you guys to be able to go back and enjoy um, at least a good bit of the Super Bowl. So let's do this right here. I had a thing I got to pull back up, and I want us to
We
discuss
can't
this
hear
right
you,
here.
Alfred.
He's muted. He was saying something. I'm sorry. Where you said? Uh-oh. What was I trying to do? Oh,
can I go back and comment a little bit on that? Chad kind of mentioned this, and I think Alfred kind of mentioned this. The disturbances in the home also that prevent or stifle the learning environment. I will agree 100%.
oh, I'm sorry.
I will agree 100% that when we have all these different things going on in the homes, that it's kind of hard to learn. It's kind of hard to focus. And then you get to school and somebody's asking you this and asking that. Well, I didn't look at that because I was too busy trying to block out the fighting in my home. I was too busy trying to figure out what me and my siblings were going to eat for dinner tonight. How we were going to take a shower. You know,
Where we were going to say?
I want us to discuss this really quick, guys, and we won't even do the other segment that I had planned for us to do. But this is a big issue in school now as well. Let's take a look at this craziness.
Hey, I don't care. Set the swing. I ain't swinging. My hand behind my back. Yeah, you ain't playing, so then swing then. What's up? Call me that word then. You didn't say it though. I bet you ain't gonna say it no more. I bet you ain't gonna say it. I'm not playing with you, bro. You ain't playing with a student. I ain't fighting no. I'm not playing. Say it again. Say it again. Look out my class, bro. Fuck out my class.
I'm gonna say this, guys. I think I got really angry about this. I got really angry about this from a perspective of where I've been in charge of a classroom before, and I was much younger. And we know that there are certain risks in everything that we do in life. My mama used to always tell us that if you know the job is hard, when you take it, don't complain, just do the damn job. And in my personal opinion, and I could be wrong, but in my personal opinion, you have to be smart enough to listen to some stuff and hear it and don't hear it. I've probably, as I've gotten older, become more wiser from a perspective of sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And what happened when we can't call the office anymore and say, "Hey, come remove this kid from the classroom. He's being super disrespectful and super disruptive in my classroom." The second part of the issue that I have is, when did so many damn phones get allowed to be in a classroom where everything that happens gets recorded? Like, I know when Junior was in high school, I had to more than once go pay $10 to get his phone back after a 24-hour time period had elapsed, because it wasn't a thing where in Ascension Parish School Board that kids could have their phones out in class. Not so much now. Everybody, let's just go around the round table with this. We're gonna start with the co and just go co, Grayson, girl one, Pat, and then Alfred, really quick. 2 minutes, please.
You're on mute, Denise.
I used to be a teacher, and there were times that you were challenged in a classroom, and you did have to take some things with a grain of salt. And so, classroom maintenance is one of those things. And so, it may be an isolated incident, it may have things built up. There's a video is sometimes things are taken out of context. Did it go a little bit far as an adult? Yeah, you know, probably with the language, but you just never know. So I will leave that out. I know that do the darn job. I hear you when you say that, but sometimes there's a little bit more. And I know words are words. I got that. I get that. I understand what you're saying, but I also say, having been in a classroom, and you've been in one too, that there's a lot more in context, and you can usually just blow and air some things off. I got you. I hear you. I think I'm just going to say that as the adult, that there was a better way to have handled that situation. And what was the second part to this?
Oh, let's just give your thoughts on the video. And if
Oh, there was definitely.
If you want to give a preventive measure real quick, go right ahead.
Well, my preventive measure in that in when I was in the classroom was I had my class to police itself, which worked well. So they held each other in accountability. So if someone became disruptive, it was like, "What are you doing, man? You're taking our time." So they saw it as you stealing my classroom time away if you got to have her deal with your foolishness.
Right.
And that whole phone thing, it was like we collected the phones at the beginning of the classroom, and they would be like, "You got a phone, put your phone in there." And again, they policed each other.
Grayson, girl.
Man, I probably couldn't have been a teacher. I'm just gonna say, because I might have been like bro man right there. I'd had to talk to some parents and probably been telling the students, "Where your mom at? Tell her come on see me." I'm just saying, my son told me one time I should have been a teacher. I said, "Now you're trying to get me set up to go to prison." I know that I paid a plenty of $15 to get cell phones back, so I'm mad in Louisiana y'all only paying 10. And I've had the disgruntled child that I ain't giving my phone up. You're gonna have to put me out of school. He refused to give his up. So he probably was like that little boy. He done talked so much smack to the teacher, just couldn't take it no more. Should it have went that far? Probably not. But the other thing is, how much of that video footage that we didn't see prior to the part where he slammed the little boy on the ground, I guess in an act to try to get control back of his class, because by then control was out the window on both parts.
Yeah.
I don't know. They did used to have telephones in the classroom though, where you can call and say, hey, send somebody down to my classroom. I guess that's out the window now. But I think Niece had a very good idea when she said have them police themselves, because they generally pretty good at speaking up for their own self. And when they don't, especially if they like the teacher, this not going down in this classroom here. We got you. You know, so I think when you set the boundaries in the beginning and you enforce them throughout, that in the end you don't worry about incidents like that even happening.
So for me, looking at that, being a teacher of 23 years and being on the administrative side, especially in discipline, and working closely with administration and even central office staff, I have so many different questions about how did we arrive at that moment, and how could it get so bad without something happening before that happened. So I just think, as you know, was stated before, as it relates to the classroom management, you know, you need to set your expectations and be consistent. You know, I have some questions about how supportive is the administrative staff as it relates to that as well, because I've seen over my tenure situations where teachers have went to that extreme because there's no support from the administration. But again, like that situation is just a snapshot, you know, and it probably has a whole lot more to, you know, to it than that, just that. Now with the cell phones, that is definitely a new kink in the armor in today's education system. They're there. And the kids are different. They're different. So that's things that they do. That's what they do. Anissa, I'm so glad that you had a class that they police themselves, and that's a great thing if you get a class to do that. But I know, man, like in some classrooms, it's not like that. The no snitch movement is huge. So and to be a social media sensation or content creator is a bigger influence than doing the right thing sometimes. So I just have, with this situation, I have a whole lot of questions. And like I said, in order for me to even form an opinion about it.
Yeah, well, I had to earn their trust too and their respect. I respected them and they respected me. And so we formed a bond and a trust of genuine care and concern. And so it wasn't that I came in judging. I offered ours to be a sacred space, but at the same time, they knew whose classroom it was. It was their classroom, but I ran the classroom, you know. And so it was one of that. And so at the end of the day, they knew, yeah, y'all, you guys may, um, have accountability to each other. But at the end of the day, I still am the one that
And you know, a
full
lot of it too has to do with the maturity level of the kids too. I guess that appeared to be a high school too, or maybe it was middle school. You know, so that's another thing that you have to take to account when you're talking about kids policing kids. I find, you know, that high school kids may do a better job of policing one another than middle school age kids. They don't. It's not like that.
I had 7th and 8th graders. I had 7th and 8th graders, but then I also had 7th and 8th graders that had been through a lot. So it goes back to what are their experiences.
Right.
Some were, according to the system, homeless. You know, some were fending for themselves. Some were about to be parents. Some had been in their what they call incarcerated, but they had been to juvenile home. Some were, you know, on papers. They were mature. Some had been held back, and some knew the vicissitudes of life, so to speak. And then some were regular matriculation age, but they understood that I spoke to them in a way that I let them know that I see them and I hear them. But we had classroom rules. We developed them together. But at the end of the day, that classroom read with my name on there. And you are class this. And we will do this and do things decent and in order. And it worked out. You know, we had one of the lowest discipline records in it. Because at the end, I said, you wasting time because you're going to go home and do nothing. I'm not giving you a vacation. That's not going to happen, Captain. That's not what you're coming to school for. That's not going to get you to where you want to be. And so, say what? I'm muted?
Nope.
Oh,
No.
what did you? Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna add that the fact that I believe what happened with the school system is what's happening with all our systems in this country. Is they're being used as political footballs. So the reason that these phones became such a issue is because some parents use the excuse of, oh, my kid may need to use the phone because they may get sick or something might happen to them medically. That's an excuse because the school has the parents' information. They can call the parent. And the school can quickly react by sending a kid to the hospital or whatever, and the parents will be notified. So when we stop playing this political, throw the rock, hide the hand, and get real about what's going on, it's all political. Because youth are very observant, and they observe these things that's going on. They know that parents are being pitted against the government. Parents are being pitted against the schools. So they play right into that. Those kids will bring those phones to school, and they'll set up those types of incidents. They'll have their friends actually waiting to run that bit to record the incident that he's going to start. And they'll tell them when it started. So these kids ain't innocent in all of these situations now. I'm going to tell you that right now. These kids are very aware of what the power structure is in these schools.
I'm not saying that the kid is 100% innocent, but what I'm saying is, as a parent, I don't throw my child around like that.
Just like you're saying, as a parent, that teacher has to go home at the end of the day too.
Right.
And if he doesn't feel safe in his workspace, how can he perform or do the job that he has been hired to do? And that's not to parent your kid, it is to teach your kid. Your kid should come to that school with some type of morals and some type of ethics from your house. So your kid should understand when he's in front of an adult, that adult should be in charge. That he should give some kind of, if he have an issue with him, he should have sat down, did what the teacher said, go to the office and report him to the principal. Now, but we look at it one way. Oh, it get all blowed up, and that's why these kids, I'm telling you, that's why these kids use these phones. They know that the perception of the public is going to outweigh the reality of what actually went on. They know that. These kids are not dumb. They're not dumb by no stretch of the imagination.
So as a parent, I set standards.
Okay, as a parent, we need to.
You set standards, but everybody does not set the same standards that you set. And these kids
why it would not have been your child.
Right. That's why what Alfred said, they are master manipulators of the system. You know why? Because they learn how to manipulate the system at their own houses.
There you go.
Yeah.
And
they don't manipulate at home, and they manipulate at school because they can't manipulate at home.
And another issue I want to bring up is, and I know Chad is working, the whole system itself, the learning system, hasn't changed, hasn't grown into the future, and that's our problem. We need to work on. We need to look at this educational thing in a futuristic manner, idealistically, because we're still teaching in the same. I'm 57 years old. We're still going to the class, sitting down. We're teaching in the same way that we've been teaching since. So we need to create a way, instruct this thing in a manner, because things have changed. I mean, society has changed. The rules and the laws of nature has changed. In our society, we have changed. The way we learn has changed. Kids go to school. Kids that stay home right now, if you ever look at a spelling bee on TV, the kids that learn at home always win. Why is that?
Because the standard has been set.
There you go. So we need to look at the way we're teaching these kids to learn and be acceptable to change. That's all I had on that. But we do need to make those teachers feel safe, and the kids feel safe in that working space.
And again, I'm 100% for teacher safety. Again, I have so many men and women that are in the educational field that I have relationships with. Of course, I want them protected. But at the same time, I'm still a parent because my kids know. Devontae knew this, Hobart knew this, and Courtney knows this. If I come to that school, I'm whooping your ass. I don't care what happened. You're going to get it where I see you at. Period. And I don't care if you call the school resource officer. I don't care if you call the chief of police. If I have to come there for anything other than an award ceremony or graduation, it's not going to be nice. Period.
But so, every parent has not said that or said that.
So listen to this. I am an involved parent. I am an involved grandparent, or I was an involved parent because all my kids are grown. But I got one child that pushed every button that could be pushed. And he had male teachers, he had female teachers, and the teachers that called me, they knew I was coming. The ones that didn't call me or didn't care, because that's what that all boiled down to. They didn't care if he got an education or not. They didn't care if he showed up in class or not. They had not one concern for Christopher Hutton. So they wasn't calling me. They wasn't writing referrals and sending them to the office. They didn't care if he showed up in class. But the ones that called me would tell him, call her. I guarantee you won't have any other problems. He had one teacher, and I said, I got to meet this lady because he got all A's in her class, and he seemed to show up every day. Something ain't right. And I go in there, and this is this lady. She about 5'1", blonde hair, blue eyes, pretty little lady. I said, what you doing? She said, what you mean? I said, what you doing that the other teacher's not doing? Because he show up in your class every week. And he passing. So that means he doing the work. She kind of sounded like a niece. She said at the beginning of the school year, I set the rules. This my class, I run it. Now we're gonna do some work, but we're gonna have some fun. But y'all not gonna get out of order. Because the moment you get out of order, I'm taking back my classroom. And I promise you I'm gonna win. And I went in there and the kids were all sitting there. Some of them were having conversations, some of them were still working, but it wasn't a disruptive classroom. It was peaceable. And they were able to do what they needed to do. And when I walked through the door, one of the little boys said, ooh, somebody in trouble. My son looked up. He saw it was me. He said, no, sir, I'm not in trouble. If I was in trouble, y'all would already know. And he knew that to be true. I just wanted to know what was this lady doing that his science teacher, who was 6'4", 200 pounds, couldn't do, that he was calling me crying. Because he couldn't control this adolescent boy.
Oh man, too much.
That's your nephew.
That I love dearly. Hey, Tugger.
And he knew I was coming to the school if they called me. He knew he was going to be in trouble. But at the beginning of the day, he had made up his mind. If they call him, I would take it. So some of them already made up their mind before they get to the schoolhouse.
But we have to set the standards. And so when you ask the question, what's going on with our educational system, it is somehow where the relationship between home in the educational system has come apart, because there used to be a connection between home and school, and somehow that has come apart. So that is the beginning question. When I said, well, what system are you talking about? And I was thinking administration. And now as we get to an hour and a half, almost an hour and a half later, it's the connection between home, school, and church. Remember that when we talked about that a couple of seasons or so ago? That connection, home, school, and church. So this is the two. You talk about home and school.
The great divide.
There's a disconnect.
The great divide.
So the disconnect is home and school somehow. Where you see home and school connected, the students are thriving. Where there's a disconnect, the students are not thriving.
Okay, so
all right, how much y'all want to pay me for that?
$5.99.99. So let's start right there, Alfred. How do we get home and school to reflect positively when mother has to work, or the child may be sick, or mother may not have transportation? There are all kind of issues under that one roof, or mother and father may be or may not be addicted to some form of recreational drug.
Substances.
Drug substance, it's abuse. No, I'm not laughing, and I'm not trying to be funny right here, because
we know, but
again, the last 30 years I've given my life to youth. I've been a mentor, a coach, an advocate. I fight for kids. I love children, and this hurts my heart when you see kids with so much gifted smarts, but yet they fail to use them in the right manner, in the right way, and at the appropriate time.
Can I say something real quick? I just want to add.
No, that's your question. So say.
Okay. Yeah. Let me chime in on that. There was a time when African American communities wanted or encouraged our kids to go to school, to learn, to do well in school, because that was the way out. But now we are working against people who gets a little knowledge, and they are telling kids now that school, what they're teaching now is not worth it. You don't do this. You're not going to use this in the real world. Or these people are just teaching you their history or their interests. And so these kids are getting all these different messages from every direction, to they don't know what is true. They can't decipher what is true now. They've been told that, hey, you ain't got to go to no school. I'm a billionaire. I'm a millionaire. I made a couple of records. I'm a millionaire. You ain't got to go to no school, because I went from high school to straight to the pros in the NBA. I go straight there. I don't have to worry about no school. I don't have to worry about learning nothing. You're not going to use that math. You're not going to use that geography out there in the world. They've been told this stuff. They've been told, oh, you need to learn about your African stuff. You need to learn about all this other stuff, which learning came from Africa. If they ever think about their history, that's what it came from, and it was a reason why you needed to learn. It's to make life better for you, so you can go through life knowing what to expect, or have expectations, or be able to what's the word I'm looking for? To move around in life, understand life, what is going on in the world. So, but nowadays you got so many ways for kids to hear so many different things, and people are yelling and screaming at them about how you just being so and so type of person, or you are falling for the same old tricks. We doing the same old things, and we're not getting anywhere because we're learning the same old education. These are the type things that these kids are up against right now. They've been. It's just like in religion, right? It's all the false prophets, all these false entities that's out there telling you about why your religion ain't this, or why you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, following the God that you follow, or the people you following. It's in every aspect of our society now. Confusion, false prophecies, and the main thing is what I'm shooting at is, I'm saying, as parents, as community organizers, as community people in the community, we need to come back together, because we used to have that. Hey, I seen your son; he wasn't in school. Well, and I talked to him, and and I would call his parent. But now it's like they don't even have it. I don't think from what I hear here, they don't even have truant officers anymore here. For some reason, we need truant. We had truant officers for a while, but it's just gotten to the point to where these kids don't understand or don't know who to trust or why to trust them, because they've been told so many different things now, and that's a big issue that we have.
So I have 2 points to this, just to kind of piggyback off of what Alfred said. Whenever I have conversations with people about this very topic, I always ask this question: when will it be a situation when the influence in home, or the influence of people who have kids' best interests at heart, is stronger than the ones outside of the home, or outside of the people who have their best interests at heart? I think that is the question. And then what's the remedy of it? And then the second thing is we're talking about the educational system, making it evolve with the times. Educate. We need to to get our kids to understand or get systems to understand curriculum wise that there's different avenues and routes as it relates to education. You know, everybody's not going to go to college. You know, everybody's not going to or may not aspire at that given time to go to college, but an advanced education is for everyone. And it's just like this. We always talk about, you know, kids not being great test takers and everything, but whenever their interest is whenever they have a great interest in things, they make a way to achieve. For instance, you know, kids not great test takers, but whenever they need that driver's license, they somehow, some way, come up with a way to pass that test. So, if going to college is a great desire of theirs, and they know that this SAT is one of the requirements, and they have to score a certain thing, then let's facilitate that and make it to where they can do that. Even if they think of themselves as not being a great test taker, let's get your foot in the door. Let's do what we got to do to get you eligible. But also, you have a kid who, hey, look, I know I don't want to go to college, but I have a great need or a great desire to be a pipe fitter or a welder or whatever. There should be a track for that kid, where they get the minimum requirements to graduate high school, but also be able to be work ready right out of school. And then if they aspire to go to college afterwards, they still have the minimum requirements to be eligible. So I think when we're talking about education in the future, it's not just a degree, but and we're not limiting them either. If that's what you desire, that's what you want. But we need to make pathways and say, hey, look, hey, you could make a great living for yourself with a CDL. You can make a great living for yourself if you want to get a forklift license or heavy machinery or even going into the military and learning that way, because they have jobs that they do within the military that translates into civilian life. There's different pathways and options for these kids. We have to make them available and bring them to the forefront for them to see and know, and give them examples, show them examples of people who have went that way and make it available to them.
All right, good deal, man. Grayson Girl 1 attacked the second part where you talked about the ACT, SAT. Anise, catch the first part of that for us that he talked about, the connectivity part.
The connectivity, help me.
I guess he was speaking of the influences outside of home and the influences inside of home.
So when you mean like friends and social media and groups and that type of thing?
From a vantage point of, and I understood him clearly what he was saying when he was saying it. So sometimes kids go hang out at their friend's house and their parents allow their children to speak to them in certain tones and certain manners. And so now your child who can do that comes home and he wants to see if he can push the envelope. And he says, I ain't doing that, Daddy. What you talking about? Or, Mama, you don't be talking to me like that.
Well, right. And when they wake up?
That was my dap it up. Yeah.
So it's but it's so funny because I had a similar conversation to that today. Because I remember a period from when adults were just adults until you left this planet, period. It doesn't matter what age you were, because the age you were and the age they are, the difference and the gap in between those ages never changed for as long as you live. Does that make sense? So the
Mm-hmm.
respect stayed the same for the rest of your life, and the explanation that they had to give you never changed, meaning you got none. It is what I said, when I said. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm 20 and you 40, that 20-year gap is going to stay there forever. So that respect that I'm going to give you is going to stay the same for the remainder of our lives. Pretty much. But
Or
not
get your
now.
asterisk whipped.
Now, I'm sorry.
Or get your asterisk whipped.
Pretty much, or just ignore it. You just talking. You're just talking, and it doesn't mean anything because I said what I said, and I'm done with it. So, but now generations, and as we talk about our children, it's well, why can't I? Why? If you don't go, why yourself out my face? But it's no longer that, as we articulate ourselves, and I say this with full cognizance of being a mental health professional, that sometimes an explanation is needed because it does make for an understanding, and all that getting understanding. So it is necessary that we do have conversations and communicate to provide a better understanding. The because I said so is not always the best rule of thumb. It is necessary to explain, or not explain, but to share with why a decision is a better decision for your future, for you, and why this works and why this is the way it is in our household. Chad, I see you chomping at the bit.
But yeah,
Chad
and
don't get no voice here. Chad gets no voice here. He had 5 minutes.
Okay. So
Chad gets no
why
voice.
why
He had
it
5
works,
minutes.
why this is why we do what we do in our household, and why this works for us. Because you cannot compare apples to oranges. You have to compare oranges to oranges. And unless you walk a mile in our shoes, then that doesn't work for us. So you have to do what we say in our house and what works for us. And so what oftentimes happens is that parents are buckling and they're failing and they're succumbing, and they're then going along with what the extortion of the children becomes. And I say extortion because then the children will pout. They will withhold what parents receive as love or perceive as love, attention, time, because some parents have made children their friends, companions, man of the house. They little princess, they little queen, they little this, they little that, versus keeping them in the role of children. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, this my little man. This the man of the house. This, that, and this, and the other. And so because of that, we gonna veg out. We gonna watch this. We're gonna, and they've spent their socialization time and put them in roles and spaces and places in the family dynamic that they have now been extorted out of when the child doesn't get their way. Food for thought. Doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but just something to think about. And that crosses racial and ethnicity lines.
Grayson Girl 1.
Man, I don't know. School came pretty easy for me, so I took the ACT. I made a good score on it the first time. I didn't even bother taking the SAT because I was gonna go where I wanted to go anyway off that ACT score. And now, you know, having reared children of my own and seeing the different stages where one she did extremely well, the other one could have did well, but he just chose to be a C student because he knew that would keep him out of hot water. It was passing, that's what he could say. And then the youngest of them all, who had several educational barriers, and I had to look at a whole nother aspect with her learning. I heard you say earlier, Chad, that when they get ready to get them driver's license, they'll have no issues with taking tests. Mine had issues with taking that. I sent her the driver's ed. I sent her the defensive driving. She got in the car with other people. And she was not gonna get them driver's license. I had to just finally say, "Look, little girl, you got to go get some driver's license. Ain't nobody gonna be chauffeuring you." But you're right. I talk to parents all the time, calling Social Security saying, "I need my child's Social Security card. I didn't have it, and now they want to get their driver's license, and I can't find it." And the parents almost feel like they pressured to take them to get them driver's license. So why don't we feel that same pressure when it comes to taking these academic testings to get them to the next level? Why don't we send them to, because I see them advertising, my kids ain't even in school, but I see little signs on the road, SAT and ACT practice tests. I see the schools announcing, my friends sharing on Facebook that they got practice sessions going on. Before, see, when we ain't understand something, I told y'all school came pretty easy to me, but my sophomore year of high school, I had a hard time grasping the concept of geometry. And so I went home with a D on my progress report, and my mama said, "Oh, this don't fly up in here. You're gonna have to do something different, little girl." And I said, "Well, Mom, I don't understand it." She said, What you mean you don't understand it? You bring the book home every day." "I don't understand it." So she had a conversation with the teacher. And between her, me, and the teacher, it was some understanding gonna be got. And she didn't care who got it, but somebody better get some understanding that I was not to bring a D home to her house. And so she said, "I don't care if that means she have to come before school, after school, at lunch. Some extra work need to be issued out until she gets some understanding." Now, they ain't had nothing to do with my teacher. That had everything to do with me and her requirements of me, because she knew I wasn't a D student, so why was I bringing a D up in her house? So failing the ACT or making a below acceptable score on the ACT, she had a no pass, no play rule.
I was dyslexic.
He was just horrible. So if you didn't pass, you didn't play. But my brothers, I think that rule didn't apply to them. It only applied to me, because they did a lot of no pass, no play. But you were gonna get the education that you were supposed to get, or you wasn't gonna get. You wasn't gonna get out of her house. That's what you was gonna get. I can't relate to us not giving our children the tools that they need to be successful. Another thing that Chad said, and I wonder about this all the time, because when we were growing up, they had wood shop, they had automotive shop. So if you don't desire to go to college, where are these tools where you can get a trade to be able to be successful? Because everybody is not college material. But everybody can be successful in life. I do remember this, and I tell my kids this, because my mom said she didn't care what you be, but whatever it was that you decided to be, you be the very best at that. Even if you was the janitor or the garbage man, you be the best janitor or garbage man that you could be, and be proud of what you are. And so when does the world standards become better than the standards that we have pre-established for our people? And so here we go. First one of this season is our scripture, because this is what we're fighting against. Ephesians 6:12 says, "For we struggle not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of the evil in the heavenly realm." We fighting against something that we can't see. And when you fighting against something that you can't see, you got to use different strategies.
Yep.
You got to put different tools into place to be able to win that battle. So get this, I'm a 70s kid.
Amen.
It was, I'm gonna tell your mom on you. And you might get a couple of licks by that person that say they're gonna tell you that they're gonna tell your mama or your dad on you. So it ain't like it was no shock. And then when you get home, mama say, "Miss So-and-so told me that you was doing da-da-da-da-da." Now you finna get another butt whooping. And if daddy in the house, when daddy come home, you get, now I got 3 whoopings for the same thing.
Yep.
How did that even make sense to me? Make it make sense.
The math didn't make sense.
The math didn't math. 1 + 1 did not equal 2.
I know sometimes it equal 11, but you was okay though.
I was
You know
okay.
what?
I turned out to be all right.
Those and I've been telling you forever, them whoopings ain't for the day. They're not for the day. That's why we cannot spare the rod.
And let me tell y'all why he's saying that, because while I am an advocate of spankings, I am an advocate of doing other alternative things as well. But you got to know your kids. Everybody you can't talk to. Some of them you just gonna have to go on and beat the cayenne pepper out of them. Some of them,
Cayenne
all you
pepper.
have to do is talk to them.
Hey,
Some of them you got to give them a little bit of both, depending on what the situation is. My brother here.
All I'm saying is, if the good book said the quickest way to destroy the child is to spare the rod.
He didn't say to destroy the child. He said spare the rod,
I said
spoil the
not
child.
destroy the child. Shut up! I'm talking
But
right.
he said he chasing those whom he loves, and so he don't always chasing us. He don't always chasing us. He don't all.
You're not finna get this one, Hobart.
If he beat us with everything that we did, for everything that we did, some of us would be in trouble.
Hey,
you're not gonna get this one, Hobart.
I'm about to mute 2 people. About to get muted.
You're not gonna get this one, Hobart.
At the same time. Bam. Say, listen, y'all. I love you guys, man. It's about 7 minutes left in the Super Bowl. I want you guys to do that, man. I tried to end the show about.
Don't miss us with that. We already missed that. We talking about broken systems and how to fix it.
You gonna give us this heavy topic on February 12th? I said, what was he thinking? That's not the word I used.
I was thinking that we need to talk about the broken educational system, and don't get me wrong.
Why
guys.
you just didn't do a welcome back?
There's so many aspects to that though. It's because the influences are from broken government, broken society.
Oh, there you go. Putting
the cart before the horse.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
What about we have people making rules for education that never been in the classroom?
What about people getting paid on the backs of black children because slavery continues?
So watch this right
we living in it right now, modern day slavery. You better let me
watch this right here. And Chad, you and I talked about this, and Grayson Girl One, I think you and I have talked about this. If you're not an educator, and it's just my personal belief, I don't care if nobody don't like it, I don't give a freaking fracking. If you're not a educator now, or if you aren't a former educator that's been in the trenches, your tail should not be running for no doggone school board representative.
Why not? It's not written. That's not the way your system is written up, though.
Again, we got people that's using chainsaws, making decisions on kids' educational futures.
But that's not how it's written up. That's not the way this country is written up. That's not the way your
again. Just because, and this probably is one of the things that burns my hind part up.
Well, then you don't come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire.
Just because something has been done a certain way for a long time doesn't make it right. It just means someone had enough influence to get something done the way they wanted it done, because in this country, in today's society, we love the rich and we love the popular. The rich and the popular.
Yeah, it sounds like he froze up.
He muted himself.
He froze.
I'm sorry, y'all. The Wi-Fi went out. My bad. But again, the greater concern for academics has to be a priority. Again, we need people that understand the changing demographics of education, making decisions for our children. Not someone that goes and chops wood in the tree line, and then when it's time for a school board meeting, they're at the school board meeting. Well, hell, what you know about what happening in the classroom? Your kids don't outgrown school, and you didn't know what the hell was going on anyway. Like Renee said, our mama couldn't help us with no geometry. So how you gonna know about? I was watching a little video on Facebook yesterday, or maybe that was this morning, but it was the way we do math here now, and the way the Chinese or Japanese do math there. It was 2 times more quicker and efficient. And like Alfred said, we're still in a, what was that? You got analog and digital. We got to get into the digital age of light. Yeah, we got our kids computers. Yeah, we teaching them this and this. But like Alfred said, we're still in an analog teaching performance. Go ahead.
We ain't teaching them nothing. We just gave them computers and laptops and allowed them to do whatever they want to do on them because they got
you're exactly
free
right, because they
reign.
just lost IT.
So they just as lost as they want to be, and we living in a lost world, a lost system that is never changing or ever evolving. Even when my kids went to school, because they learned how to do math a different way than what I learned how to do math, and they weren't bringing home textbooks, so I was super lost. I'm trying to watch YouTube videos, calling a friend, help me understand this. And then I was trying to ask that child that I said had disabilities. I'm asking her, so what the teacher say in class today? And she looking at me like a deer in the headlights because she don't know. And she had 2 teachers in her classroom. So when I finally figure out what it was that they had discussed for that day, and I teach her the way I know how to teach her, the feedback I got from the teacher was, oh, I'm not accepting that because that's not how I taught her. And so what I tell him was, you didn't teach her anything because she couldn't even do this with what you gave her. Now, with what I've given her, she not only knows how to work the problem, but she knows how to check the problem to show you that she got it right. So what did you teach her? What did you give her? And what did you give her mom to be able to assist her? It goes back to what Anise said, that connectivity thing. Something has been disconnected. Something has been lost. While again, I say I know some outstanding educators that love teaching because that's what they want to do. So this is nothing against them. You gotta love what you do. And I tell people all the time, find a job that you love to do, that you would do it even if you didn't get paid to do it because you love it that much. That young man in the corner, he loves kids. I've seen him train kids, coach teams, invest his own money, invest in some stuff. We do not invest in anything unless it's something that we want for ourselves. We'll invest in some Air Jordans. We'll invest in Gucci, Coach, Michael Kors, Balenciaga. We can't even afford Balenciaga, but we are trying to promote that. Listen, invest in your future. And that's the thing that you gave birth to, or somebody close to you gave birth to. I will invest in my nieces and nephews to the end. I don't care what it is. TT, we selling lollipops. How much do the lollipops cost, baby? 25 cents. Sign me up for $50 worth. Ask them. They will tell you. We don't invest in the things that we say are important to us, but we will invest. It's okay. Here go. This is my plug right here. It's income tax season. Let me see what y'all gonna spend y'all money on. And I don't want to see y'all taking no trips either. Or going out buying the same cars y'all bought last year.
Well, they don't have passports, so they can only go to the countries that They don't have passports, so they can only go to the places that
That
allow
don't require a
virtual visits or
passport.
that's connected to the
Exactly.
United States.
But and then next month you asking
Hey,
for somebody to help you pay your bills. Come
Because
on,
they in the
let's
middle of,
Hey, I
because they
love
caught up
Miami.
and they not getting income tax. They're not getting
Hey,
it back because they
that
got to pay back the PPPs.
let's get real about it. Let's keep it
those
100. So
those
let's
issues
invest in
about
stuff.
the teachers.
Let me tell you something. Y'all want to buy Nike or give Michael Jordan some money? Invest in Nike. Go get you some stock in Nike. Go get you some stock in Microsoft. Go get you some stock in Apple. In Twitter. I got a Twitter account and I don't even know how to tweet. That's
Hey,
crazy.
that question about when you said that the teachers need about the teachers need to be, you know, interested in doing a job. I'm saying that they don't have a one singular job anymore. They have to do everything. They have to parent these kids, and then they have to deal with the government. They have to deal with all of these hands that's in their operation. They don't just come in and say, okay, I'm gonna come in today, I'm just gonna teach. It doesn't happen like that. They got to come home, they got to come in that classroom ready to see what child have what issue today.
And I know that, and I understand that. They can't just walk in and say, today we learning addition, we learning subtraction. But that's all a part.
Worry about what the news is talking about. Everything is thrown off on the
only
teachers.
thing you can do is
When
what's
they got
in
to
your
worry about
circle,
the
what's in your control. Chad, what's your job title?
That's what they wish they could do.
Chad, what's your job title?
My job title, I'm the in-school suspension presider, and I'm a athletic coach, but I do a whole lot more than just that.
And it's a whole lot
and we were talking about
it's a whole lot more people looking at him is what I'm saying. It's a whole lot
No, this is what I'm talking about. When you live in a society where you have to multitask in just about everything you do. So here's the teacher's, her primary goal should be to teach. But yes, we do know and understand that she has to deal with other outside forces that come into that classroom. Discipline, I'm not going to deal with that, because when you get out of order, guess what I'm sending you to? I'm sending you to the disciplinary guy.
The reason I do mentoring for myself and through the church was because I did not want to enter into the governmental mentoring. I did not want to get into the
because you don't want nobody to tell you how to do what you do.
Exactly. I want to be able to concentrate on mentoring, not my political stance, not somebody telling me what I need to be doing who doesn't mentor anybody, but they're going to try to place laws on what I should and should not be able to do. And then tell me what steps to take and what I can do and what I can't do. And at the end of the day, I got to make sure that I check off, was I politically correct? Did I offend any parent, or did I is the school educator gonna fire me today because I didn't get, my kids didn't make an A today, so my classroom didn't make all A's, so am I gonna get fired today or tomorrow, or somebody gonna say something about mine? No, because I'm telling you now, I hear from teachers that'll tell you they can't even give students the actual grades that they deserve. They have to give them certain a passing grade. They can't fail those kids. They can't put action. No, man, your work was a 55 or F. They can't turn that in. And these kids know this. I'm telling y'all, these kids know this. And them kids will go in there and they'll sit there, sleep, do whatever they want to do, because they know that they're not going to fail them. They're going to move them right along. I got kids that don't even go to school half of the time. Guess what? They still moving right along, just like they were there every day with every other student. And it's just, I just all I hear at these political rallies and at these school events is everyone talks about how the teacher ain't doing, There's more entities in this than just the teacher. The teacher's there just to teach, like you see it saying. They are there just to teach. All that other stuff should be handled by the other departments.
And so
Counselors, parents, the Board of Education should be providing for these people.
So here we go. Again, I think that's kind of why Hobart was saying he don't want the lumberman in there being the board. I don't even know what they call them now, on the Board of Education or the school council. What they call them? Y'all help me.
That's the part. That's the political part.
School
That's the
board.
political part.
And so
that's
the people that really want to make a difference, they feel like they can make a difference in the classroom, but it's beyond that. And so somebody gonna have to be strong enough to say, I'm gonna run for to be on the school board, to be the school board president. I don't even, do they still have PTAs in school? But don't nobody show up.
They got PTA and what's the other one? It's PTO or something like that.
I mean, you know what? This situation is so multifaceted and so challenging because it has so many different entities that that is a factor in student success. Yes, there's some. I mean, there was a teacher shortage at
I'm about to say that too. I don't even know. Listen, I wasn't designed to be no teacher. I appreciate y'all for all y'all did for my children while they was coming up. I don't even know what would make you want to be a teacher in this year and time, because they don't even pay y'all enough to do what y'all do.
I was just about to say that. There's a statistic, and I don't want to quote it because I know I'm gonna probably get it wrong, but the gist of it is there's a drastic decline of male teachers in education right now because, and I can, from the guys that I deal with and, that's gotten out, what guy wants to come and deal with these types of things? And the only, and the people who are in it is the ones who have the tolerance for it. It's tough. It's a tough situation. Like I said, it's multifaceted. It has to do with having qualified teachers teaching your kids. It has to do with administration, operating in the manner it's supposed to operate and giving support to teachers so that they can have great retention. It has to do with a school board that supports education and not, other things, like you say, political things. But we also have to understand that there is some politics in it because that's, where we get the funding from, from the taxpayers, and the tax base is a large, it helps to fund our schools and things. So it is going to be a little political as well. So it's just at the end of the day, we have to do what's best for kids, and we have to have people in place who have our kids' best interests at heart. And is going to provide opportunities for kids to be successful. And we need to have wraparound services that also will do things when we have kids who have challenges, because they have a multiplicity of barriers that prevent them from being successful, whether it's things in the home, walking to school, transportation to school, their parents and their financial situation can be. It's so many different factors is the reason why kids do not achieve. So and again, it goes back to the other statement I said earlier. Like, as it relates to the individual student and their home and their community, we have to have a situation where the influences, the positive influences, are greater than the negative influences. They can't be attracted to the things that is not expedient and to be successful. Because I have kids. I have conversations with kids, and there's things I'm just like, will that bring you closer to your goal or farther away? At the end of the day, every decision you make, is it going to bring you closer to your goal or farther away? And so to get them to understand and for them to not to succumb to that dark side of the thing, because they're really intrigued and want the now and understand that, you know what, if I endure, it will be greater later. That's the thing. We are in a microwave age where, you know, they want to pop it in the microwave rather than eat it out the oven. They want it right now. But we have to come somehow, some way, get them to understand that, guess what? That food in the oven gonna taste a whole lot better. You just gonna have to wait a little bit longer. You know, these things that I'm asking you, I need you to endure, because it's gonna be greater for you later than it is gonna be for you to have that right now instant gratification. And then guess what? You're gonna be left empty at the end. That's what we have to do.
It has to be modeled, Chad. Instant gratification is modeled everywhere. Everywhere. Everywhere you look. Everywhere. 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 There isn't. Can you name anywhere where instant gratification isn't modeled?
It is, because we want results now, even in the standards that the education system wants. You know, in education, they want the right now results rather than hey, let's look at what's going to happen over a period of time. You know, we're in a day and age. What have you done for me lately? You know, but somehow, some way, we have to come to a certain understanding that some things take time. You know, a baby don't you know, just all of a sudden start walking. You know, it's a process. First they stand up, then they start bouncing, their legs get stronger, and then they take a step, then they take two, and then they take three, and now they're gone. So if that's a process, if we could understand that that's a process, if we could understand that all these things are processes and happen over time, why can't we understand these other things are processes and they happen over time? And why do we want it instantly? It's baffling to me.
The only thing that I've seen that happened over time that's been instituted is the preschool to prison pipeline. And that's a system that we can talk about later. That was instituted over 20-something years ago, and it is now coming to pass. Where that has been instituted and that has been orchestrated into our school system, where now preschoolers are being carted off to prison, where those little cute little write-ups and Johnny being put out to class and him receiving IEPs and him being diagnosed with all type of attention deficits and those things going on his records, and then going into social security systems and all those things and becoming dependents and all those things. That was the only thing I saw being reinstituted into a system, just the same way with housing and the same way the housing system did with public aid and those type of dependencies. That was another system that put in place. So Halbert, if you want to talk about broken systems, there you go. The same way with the housing and that for Black and brown bodies was this. Well, not only just Black and brown bodies, that was, predominantly so. But if you want to talk about that.
You all know I will take you guys in whatever direction you want to go. Just let me know when you want to talk about the broken housing crisis, because I'm a product of a broken housing crisis.
Well, even the preschool to prison pipeline is that's a system that was put in place when Chad was just talking about over time to put these things into place and implement them. That's something that was put in place, 20-something, 30-something years ago, and now it's coming to pass, and it's working quite well.
Good news then, everyone. Next week we're talking about broken laws, prisoner pipeline, and all those things. Huh?
Preschool to prison.
Yeah, all that. We'll talk all that follows under that category for episode 2. Hey, if it's broke, I probably don't thought about it. I'm telling you, I tried to make sure that we covered every basis of broken systems, and it's not to demean, defame, or any of those things like that. But at the end of the day, if we never have the discussion about it, then how do we start to make changes? Where can our kids learn better if no one ever shows them? Like, I'm just gonna say it, y'all don't really, because at this stage of the game, killing me is like wasting a bullet. So I'm sick of these doggone rappers telling our kids every single little thing, and hell, half of them ain't got a high school diploma. Like, at what point are we gonna fight for our kids the way we fight to keep that job? Or right, or to get some Jordans, or to get that Michael Kors purse, or to manipulate a man or a woman to do what you need. Fight for your kids, man. It's aggravating. And again, I'm not the end all be all of how to fix anything. I just believe that if we don't ever discuss it, we'll be forever stuck in this rut. And kids, again, we can see it right now. Hell, look at Walmart, man. Every time you go in Walmart, you see less and less Walmart employees. You see more and more self-checkout lines. From what I'm hearing, they got robots to put up stock now. So if we don't teach our kids to get some kind of education, who's going to reprogram the robots when they break? Eventually, all you smart people are going to be, people pass. And if we don't get educated kids, our future is destined to fail. I wish I had the answer. Because if I did, the academic part of life, I'd just be done fixed it already. But I don't have the answers. And there are people that are way smarter than me that probably know some ways to fix the problems that we deal with in our everyday life. But because they don't have any kids in the game, or they don't have any skin in the game, okay, I'm only worried about my four walls and nobody else. Well, again, how long is that crap gonna be good? Like, just how long? When will we stand up and fight for it? And it is our kids. How long? When? 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 And how long? I want to say this too. I want to say this too because I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Every teacher, depending upon time in education, teachers shouldn't start off with less than a minimum of $75,000 per year. Like, we have to pay our teachers better in order to keep longevity. Right now, you got people that are just quitting education, like went to 4 years of college, took the praxis test, took the test after the praxis test, passed both of them, become certified in their particular state to teach, and then just walk away. Just walk away. Like these last 5.5 years, and some people don't pass the test the first time. Some people don't pass the test the 10th time. But on that 11, when they pass it, and now they've been 7 years trying to pass it, not pass the test, but just trying to become a certified educator to increase their pay and then walk away. Because one, the money ain't what they thought it was gonna be. 2, the kids were better than they thought they were gonna be. 3, the parents come to school and raise so much hell. Not my child. My child don't even do that. You're a damn lie. That child worse than that at home, and you know it. You just too embarrassed to say your child don't embarrass you, or you too scared to whoop your children butt because you scared of your kids. And yeah, there's plenty of parents that are scared of their kids because they scared their kid gonna hit that 911. But I told my daughter, the only one I got left in school, I said, you know what? You call 911 on me, I ain't tripping. I ain't gonna even be mad at you. But when I beat your butt till the police come, don't be mad at me, because now we on level the playing field. And what I do for you isn't compared to you doing good in school. That's just an added bonus for what I do for you. The better you do in school, if you my child, the more stuff you can get. If not, you might just gotta settle with, well, you used to call them things and they Safeway pies. Y'all remember them white shoes you go buy and pay less or whatever? They used to, in Monroe, they used to sell them at Safeway. Safeway was a grocery store. We used to call them Safeway pies. But boy, when you got them things, you thought you was fast. Y'all remember them old cheap shoes? Everybody don't, I ain't the only one don't have a pair. Y'all can't make me believe that shit. But man, like we have to do better to increase the value in our children, in our grandchildren, in our grandchildren's children's children. Because I believe God when he says that if you do good, good will follow you all the days of your life. Not only will you be blessed, but your children's 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 children, children's children's children will be blessed, as many as the grains of sand by the seashore. That is powerful beyond reproach. You can't even imagine how many particles or grains of sand there are, because we don't even know how many beaches there are. So you can't even count or imagine how many grains of sand there are. So, hey, man, anybody else got anything? Congrats to the Kansas City Chiefs 38-35 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm hurt. Not that I care about football. I love Jalen Hurts. I'm a Jalen Hurts fan. So I'm a little crushed. I don't care nothing about the game. If it's not high school athletics, I could care less. And hey, one more thing before we go, since nobody has nothing else to say.
That's obvious since we didn't get a chance to see any of the game.
I didn't either. I was being right here with you guys.
We know you don't care about the game, but that don't mean we didn't get. We at least wanted to get half of the game. I bought snacks for the game.
Hey, I'm sorry, y'all. When I get back on my feet, I'm gonna treat everybody to lunch. So y'all, I'm praying for prosperity. Ain't no prosperity preacher now, but I'm praying for a little prosperity to come my way. As the old song used to say, soon and very soon. Not that we going to see the king. We're going to do that anyway because, our hearts are golden. But, I shouldn't tell y'all something really important. Oh, I love you guys. Go, niece. Hey, Grayson girl 1.
What, you want us to say something now after all that? I love y'all. To the best
said a
listeners
lot.
in all the land, Off the Bench Sports, we love you.
Chadwick.
All right.
Get off the bench.
Not mine. Not mine.
Nah. He playing, y'all. Hey, Alfred. I know what you're gonna say. Go Dogs.
All right. Life off the bench and go Dogs.
Yeah, man. We love. I love life off the bench. Anise, Sissy Pooh.
Life is wonderful. It's but a dream. And grateful for this time we've had together. Call you.
'To thine own self, to
Be
thine
true.
own self, to thine own self, be true.
Be true.
Love out loud.
Love out loud.
That's yours, Anise. Love out loud.
Love out loud. You are the light. Be the
Be
light.
the light,
Shine the
shine
light.
the light.
Yeah. Oh Lord, y'all, I forgot to put that thing at the bottom. Y'all forgive me.
We
Let
don't.
me do that
That's
now.
okay. We okay. We okay.
Last 30 seconds, y'all. Remember, if you have any mental health issues, problems, concern for someone else, 988. Dial 988. All right.
All right.
The other thing.
What other thing?
Oh, remember, get off the bench.
Get into the game.